Hey, it's Holden. It's Mangone. Spread a steer will be here in just a little bit. It's picking winners. I don't know if it's our last picking winners, Mangone. I hope it's not. I enjoy doing the show,
It's
but
not our last one.
Not our last one.
We'll go probably till the end of the Super Bowl.
I mean, you sound so excited about that, but
I am excited about it. I'm just a little. My body's a little full. I just ate, so just getting the energy up, ready to go.
Good to see. What's up to everybody in the chat? We got Matty Ice and Stubbs, Jacob Stubbs, and everybody else. And for those of you that are in the premium chat, I'm probably, let's see here. I'll go check that too if you want to hop on and ask some questions. If we got time at the end of the show, we will answer your questions in the premium chat, though. You got to be a member for that. And besides for that, I mean, we got 6 games this weekend, 4 of which, Mangone, I'm actually really, really excited about. And then there's Miami. I mean, your Dolphins have fallen on tough times, my friend. You know, they're off to that great start, and then Tua with the injury, and the report last week that McDaniel was going to get fired. McDaniel was going to get fired if they didn't win, which I thought was a bunch of BS. But Skylar Thompson starting, my friend. You can't be feeling great about your Fins.
Yeah, I mean, I am a fan of them, but actually, we got spread of stairs. Let's get spread in here.
Let's get him in there. Look at you, Mr. Helping me out.
I got you covered.
Hi, spread.
What's up, guys?
I was just talking to Mangone about the Fins here. It's a rough go of it for our boys.
Yeah, they told me to stop being a bully and kicking people when they're down, so I won't mention Dolphins end of the season.
The thing is, you could say it, right? But like the team has literally ran into like disaster after disaster this year, right? Like under a first-year head coach. Spread, if I told you they ran into all the things they've ran into this year, would you think they made the playoffs? I don't think so, right? So
I mean, I root for a team that had their coach fired in the middle of the year and had their star wide receiver killing people that still made the playoffs. So hey. I could see it happening.
That is true. The Raiders did pull it off last year, so I guess the Dolphins pulled it off this year. But I am excited for this game a little bit because I'll just say this. I saw ODB, who does the Print Factory. He did bring up a good point. Like rooting for upsets is probably not the best idea in this round because like it'll lead to some ugly games in the next round, which you would not want to see. But I haven't been that impressed with the Bills this year. Like. For a team that's like feels like everyone is trying to say like they're like the unanimous favorite, right? All year, everyone's been like, "Oh, you just got to bet the Bills," right? Like I tried to do this bet with Holden. He's like, "I want the Bills at even money," right? Like everyone thinks the Bills are just like the unanimous best team. I haven't been that impressed with them. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. Like they're top 5, of course, but I think there's definitely a lot of paths where they can be upset. So, not saying I'm rooting for it to happen this weekend, but it wouldn't shock me if you're in the fourth quarter and that's like a 1-score game, even between the Dolphins and the Bills. Like, again, Patriots game. You should have expected the Bills to really be out in front a lot more, especially when you get 2 touchdowns off of special teams. Like, how come they didn't just absolutely just blow them away? So I kind of want to get Spread's take on what he thinks happens with the Dolphins. And I'm curious to see if Spread takes the points here in this spot.
No, I don't, because this is where I get to be the old man yelling at a cloud, right? So for my whole life, there's 12 playoff teams, right? And now there's 14. And I'm not against it. I think it's great to have the extra game. I think it makes the end of the regular season more fun. But I don't really think these are playoff caliber teams. And we watched last year, these 7 seeds, they don't have any business being in the playoffs. Now, it's kind of weird because both of them are division rivals. And that's going to be some of my hold up for laying it there. I wish we were getting out of division. I think it would be the easiest bet to make. But no, I don't think so because, like I said, I just don't think they're really a playoff caliber team compared to the other 12.
Yeah.
It's a fair point, Spread. Like, it's definitely a really good point with, like, these teams don't deserve to be in there for sure. We'll get to the NFC. There's a lot of those teams that don't deserve it.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them do, right? I mean, do we really think that Miami or Seattle has a chance to make the Super Bowl?
But they're both division games. That's my one thing, Spread. Like,
so they could cover. So they could cover the spread, and it makes it fun for gambling.
Yes.
But when we're looking at, I'd even say that I don't know about the Jaguars, right? But the Chargers, that's not that crazy for them to make the Super Bowl. Right?
The Chargers? No, they could also lose this week just as easily.
Yeah, no, they could. But I'm just saying, like, these teams actually have a chance.
I think coaching matters, Spread. And you got to take that into account.
That's not really a hot take, Holden. We're all going to agree with you.
I think you got to take that into account a little more. And if you think this Chargers are going to roll through it, then you should probably cross out Brandon Staley.
No, I don't. I personally don't, but I'm just saying it's not that crazy. If we're previewing a Chargers Super Bowl, I mean, I'm not going to say something ridiculous, but I mean, I'll say something ridiculous like I'll eat one of those.
That's ridiculous that the Chargers are going to go to the Super Bowl.
You really think it's ridiculous?
Ridiculous. Yeah. There's no way in hell Brandon Staley is going to make the right call when it matters. I'm telling you right now, we just saw it last week. This jackass leaves his starters in for almost the whole game against the Broncos, locked everything up. Mike Williams fucked his back up.
I'm with Holden.
Yeah.
This guy is a mess. Staley is a mess, man. And let me tell you, he gets blown out right here in this game too. They lose to Jacksonville. They just need to move on. I think he's going to be a good head coach someday, but not right now. It's just his decision-making. I can't think of a worse coach in the playoffs right now. Tell me, who's a worse coach than Brandon Staley? Look, all the talent that team has.
There's got to be a worse one.
In the playoffs? No, yes. I don't know if there is.
Who's a worse coach in the playoffs?
Because there are definitely obviously some good coaches.
No, there isn't. There's not.
Pete Carroll?
No, Pete Carroll's awesome.
Okay. Mike McCarthy will probably.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
McCarthy and Staley will probably.
Bowles as well. Bowles isn't good.
Oh, okay. So that Monday night game,
point too.
One of the two bad coaches is going to move on. It's Staley, it's Bowles, it's McCarthy. Those are the three guys that I think we're going to look at and say, there's some major problems here. So we'll talk about it when we'll handicap it. But this to me, in all honesty, is the best week of the NFL season, just because we got 6 games now. Love it. Absolutely. This is basically a full slate.
Really? I think I like next week better.
Less games.
We're going to get some prime matchups.
Less games, but they're like great games.
Yeah.
That's true. We will get the four games that are really special. So, all right, let's get into this.
You basically get like one guaranteed special game. Like you get one that's like just absolutely electric.
Yeah, I think if I had to miss one, I would choose to miss this week over next week.
I agree.
If you had to miss one game this weekend.
No, I mean 1 weekend.
No, I want to know one game this weekend, because for me, the Niners and the Seahawks, if I had to miss a game, I'd miss it.
That's the one I'd miss.
It's gross. So we're going to start with that anyways. Though.
Yeah, or the Bills Dolphins. We don't want to watch these 7 teams.
I want to watch Josh Allen in the playoffs. I want to see if he keeps turning the ball over. That's what I'm worried about with him.
That's a good question there.
But let's get into this here then. Our first game, it's a West Coast game, 4:30 Saturday. Niners hosting the Seahawks. We're at a 9.5 point number here. So the Niners are 9.5 point favorites. Total here is 42.5. That's got to be the lowest. No, Bengals and Ravens are a little bit lower at 41.5, but spread, you're trying to cap this game here. The Niners look like they're playing as well as anybody. There is some trepidation from some people about Brock Purdy now in the playoffs. But what really have you seen out of Seattle recently that makes you think that they can hang with the Niners, even though it's a divisional game?
The only thing that I would say, if you want me to argue for Seattle, is familiarity, right? These teams know each other well. They're division opponents, and Pete Carroll has done well against Kyle Shanahan in their times both being the coach. But you look at the rosters, and it's really tough to argue that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be able to keep up. Here's the thing with Brock Purdy. We've been saying, he's a rookie. He was the last pick in the draft, right? He can't keep this up. And whoever says he can't keep it up keeps being wrong. So, of course, this is his first start in the playoffs going against who I think is a pretty good defensive mind in Pete Carroll. Pretty disciplined defense as well. I just feel like they have too many weapons, and they're going to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of this ball. Now, I don't have a huge edge here. I have the Niners winning this game by 10, and I have the game going over by 1 point. So it's not something I love to get involved with. But, boy, other than being contrarian, I think and the fact they're going against rookie QB, I think it's hard to make an argument here for the Seattle Seahawks.
I mean, that game earlier in the year, and a lot was different. That was week 2, I think. Garoppolo had just stepped into the job. They won 27-7. They beat the hell out of them, but it was so long ago. And
that game was. I was pissed because I actually took the Seahawks in that game, and then when Garoppolo came in, because I'm a big Jimmy G fan, I'm like, I lost my bet. I was trying to fade Trey Lance there.
So, all right, so no bets on this side. Mangone, I got to start with CMC, okay? Elijah Mitchell's back, and we saw Elijah Mitchell right after CMC came in there, got worked. Last week, the dude got work. Is that just because it was the last game of the season? Or does McCaffrey get knocked down just a little bit because he might be splitting some carries this week? And I don't think that's insane to think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's insane to think at all. So just want to call that out. There's definitely routes where he gets involved way more than you would think. So, trying to pull it up here over on DK.
Do we want to play some Elijah Mitchell then at 4-7 on DraftKings? Let me go get his FanDuel.
No, I don't think I don't think you'd want to do it on DraftKings. It seems like
5-5 FanDuel
to pull off. I'm pulling up the pricing now.
Yeah, 5-5 FanDuel, 4-7 DraftKings. Elijah Mitchell.
Is that for the 2-game slate or the 6? How do you?
I got him on the 6.
You have it on what?
We're doing the 6-gamer.
And what do you have McCaffrey and Mitchell at? You said
McCaffrey is 8-9 on DraftKings. He is 9-8 on FanDuel. Mitchell is 4-7 on DraftKings and 5-5 on FanDuel.
Okay, so gonna call this out. On DK on the 2-game slate, McCaffrey's 8-5. So you are gonna have different prices. So if you're watching this, let's agree. The pricing we're gonna discuss is the full 6-game slate. Now, obviously, we'll touch on different points of how you could play him on the 2-game slate. Like for instance, on that 2-game slate, the one thing that's really interesting is you have, and this is gonna be on the main slate decision as well. You're gonna have a big decision point on should you play McCaffrey or should you play Eckler, right? That's going to be a decision point that you can make up top for some of your running backs for sure. So I do think McCaffrey's in the conversation. Going against Seattle, you should expect they put up a lot of points. I do think Elijah Mitchell could get mixed in. Now, does that mean I'm going to play Elijah Mitchell? No, it does not mean that. But like in basketball spread, right? If, for instance, Paul Reed is on the court for the Sixers, that's going to help. That's going to hurt James Harden more than when you have PJ Tucker out there, right? Because of usage, right? I mean, so usage does matter, and seeing the snaps that a guy like Elijah Mitchell will get is important. So I do think it could dock him some. It's something to think about. It's something that we are not going to know the answer for sure on. Maybe we can look at some coach quotes, but when you're kind of debating on ownership and projection versus other players, it's something definitely that you need to be thinking about. This is a slate too where, man, we got stars are out, right? We got Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Barkley too against the Vikings. I mean, what a dream matchup. That's a great spot for him. You also have Jefferson as a spend, Jamar Chase, who we'll get to. The stars are out this week. So deciding if you want to spend your money on Christian McCaffrey is an important decision point. My lean right now is it's probably more of a cash game thing than a tournament thing, just because of the safety of what he can provide for you. And I like a lot of the upside for some of these receivers that we'll get to. And I do think there's enough running backs volume-wise where I can just get away with going a bit cheaper for some of these other options. You have someone like Joe Mixon at 6'8", who will obviously get to – we'll get to all these guys. But
all right.
Point I'm getting at is –
but how about this, Mangone? Let me steer you in the other direction then. Brock Purdy at 5-5 on DraftKings, 7-1. You're not going to probably get a 30-point game out of him, but you could pretty damn well sure think you're going to get 16 to 20.
Purdy's not bad. I think you're bringing up interesting points, but Daniel Jones for 300 more, I'd probably be more interested in. That's one of the issues. And obviously, totals are going to be super important. Ownership on a 6-game slate, you're going to see some spots condense on other areas. So that's going to be something to be looking for throughout the week. We'll obviously update that in SaberSim. Also, this is a total that's at 42.5. Look at all the other totals on the board. I mean, we got a 48.5, we got a 45.5, and a 47.5. So obviously the 47.5 and the 48.5 are going to stick out the most. This game is outdoors too as well. So it's obviously not one of the dome games that we will have on this slate. This is a game that I don't know how much San Francisco I'll get to, just because Debo's now back, Ayuk, George Kittle. I mean, listen, I love George Kittle. I think he's awesome. But I don't know if I want to spend my salary in that way. I think that's going to be one of the issues that I'm going to run into here on this slate. And Seattle, like, are you excited to play Seattle against this, like, amazing Niners defense in the third game where it's a division game? Not really. This could be a really good spot where I just kind of let the field play it and just kind of see what happens, right? This is another interesting dynamic to talk about on this slate. This is a 3-day event technically, right? Yes, you could play the showdown slate on Monday night. You could play the slate split on 2 games and 3 games. But if you're playing the 6-game slate, which I personally like to play these a lot,
yep,
you can fade that first game. And then aside, if you want to take pieces of that Jaguars Chargers game, and let's say the Jaguars Chargers game does kind of too. Imagine just being completely backloaded with these like other great games coming up and some of these opportunities that you can have. So it's definitely something to think about. But this next game is going to be the really important one to discuss. I don't really want to touch too much on the Niners and the Seahawks. It's really just looking at McCaffrey just because of his safety. And it's in like a really good matchup against Seattle. And then kind of moving on. You just have to decide if that's the way you want to allocate your money this week. That's the real key.
Yeah. The other guys, real quick, maybe we could talk about them. DK Metcalf has kind of been locked down the last couple of weeks, and not to use the pun here, Tyler Lockett, but Tyler Lockett once again getting back in the box. Is this a guy, if you are going to play a receiver from this game, there's a lot of them. Debo's trying to work his way back. Ayuk has been up and down with the volume. Any interest in Tyler Lockett? It's the only guy I'm interested in.
Yeah, they're going to have a trailing script. So, like, that's obviously nice. Kenneth Walker, too. He's in a trailing script and not involved enough in the pass game. I can't get behind it. Can't really get excited about Geno. You could make a case for Lockett or Metcalf, but I see there's other receivers I'd rather play at the $6K price tag.
Nadesify, who I met, Nadesify. I met him last night on the show, Mangone.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in person. I was like,
no.
How was the on the up the lock or on the playback?
The playback thing.
Okay, you jumped in the playback. How was that? Did you enjoy it?
The edibles hit me like right before I was about to get off, and JSU was worried about me. I didn't know it was a big thing. I didn't know I was going to have to talk to people with JSU. So it was going great right before I went off, and then he was worried about it. I said, don't worry about it. This is how I am every night. Everything's good. Everything's good. We're going to be fine. I agree, Mangone says Nadesify. They're going to pound them in the ground if they're winning handily with Elijah Mitchell and a fully capable running back behind him and the injury concerns of CMC. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Elijah might get some run at the end.
He could. I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think ownership's going to be super important on it. And because it's the first game, and I know a lot of people, if you're in like the Discord, right, and you see me in NBA, I'm definitely more of like, let me just backload and gain some information. Doesn't hurt to backload and gain some information for sure. I mean, I think CMC is more of a cash game play than a tournament play.
Okay. Spread a stare, Mangone, Holden here. Hit the like button. We always love when you do that. If you say something really nice, I'll try and come up with a special promo code for you if you're not a member. This is a new thing I'm doing, Mangone. I don't even know if I can pull it off, but I'm damn straight going to try. Wonderful coffee cup. Can we see a little closer? Spread a stare. It looked like there was a baby Yoda on it. And I'm all about
Baby Yoda coffee cup. Hold on. I got too many windows open.
Yeah. Okay. Don't worry about it. You don't need to. Oh, there it is. Love it. The child. I'm a big fan of that one. Great show. Can't wait till it comes back. Mangone, you don't watch The Mandalorian, do you?
No, I do not watch The Mandalorian. I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I don't watch The Mandalorian. It's never seen it, but maybe one day I will. I wouldn't be opposed to watching it, but we'll see.
I think you'd like it. It's arguably the greatest show in the history of television.
Yeah, that's not your best take.
But, well, you haven't seen it yet. How can you say that?
What's your best show of all time, Travis?
You might watch it.
I mean, for starters, are you in the camp that it's the best show of all time, Spread?
No, he's not.
But I just want to know what yours is.
Okay. It's probably an HBO show, for being honest. I don't know. Game of Thrones was really good.
Great show.
The ending of Game of Thrones was really bad. That's what you would probably dock. The last season really destroyed it.
See, I didn't mind it.
What?
I didn't mind it. Everybody died that needed to die. That's all I was worried about. I just needed people to die, and they all died.
I definitely haven't seen enough HBO shows to feel like I have a really good opinion on this, but I liked Game of Thrones a lot. I just thought the character development was really good. The thing I didn't like about Game of Thrones, the fans, right? They were obnoxious. They'd be like, oh,
he's gonna hate Star Wars fans then. They're 10 times worse.
Spread, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've never seen it, and they'd be like, oh, then I don't value your TV opinion if you've never seen Game of Thrones. It's like, what are you doing?
That's actually I kind of agree with them on that one, Mango.
That's a terrible take, Holden.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. You're right.
Curb is good. I've seen an episode or two, but I've heard great things about Curb.
You would love Curb.
I would love Curb.
Knowing your sense of humor, you would love Curb.
Yeah, I would like Curb a lot. I need to. That's probably the one I need to start watching once football ends here.
All right, we always talk about television. We do that anytime. Let's get back to the slate here. We are picking winners. We just did Seahawks Niners spread. the numbers are right where they need to be for spread. So pass on that one. All right, spread. This could be a massive teasing opportunity. As a matter of fact, I already did it. Jaguars +2. This thing's been all over the place. Open at 2.5. Then it goes down to 1. Now it's back at 2. Plus 108 money line for the Jags, 124 minus 124 for the Chargers, and a healthy 47.5 total. Before we get into this, just want to let everybody know there's really no weather concerns. It'll be chilly in most places. We do have a game at a dome. A little bit of rain in San Francisco, but nothing, no winds, nothing that should affect totals here. So let's get into this. Chargers, Jaguars. Chargers play a lot of close games, my friend. I can't back them. Spread, I can't do it.
I can't wait to talk to you guys about this game. So this, when we did the projections for the playbook, is actually the biggest edge on the board. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually have them winning straight up, and you're getting 2 points. I have them winning by 2 in the game, in a game that's really close to the total here. My concern, I wasn't that impressed with Trevor Lawrence in what was essentially a playoff game against the Tennessee Titans. So let's go ahead and look now. How much better is the Titans defense than the Chargers? I don't know how much better it is. Here's the difference, though. I do believe that they should be able to run the ball. That can make things a lot easier for a quarterback because they couldn't run the ball at all against Tennessee, right? Tennessee, you attack them by passing. The Chargers, you attack them by running. That should open things up for Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. And we talked about it earlier. It's got to be a huge coaching edge, right, Holden? So everything's pointing to take the Jaguars. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. What do you think here? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts here because at this point of the year, when you're running projections, they're usually coming pretty close to what the books are saying. Both your guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you like the Jaguars, Holden?
I mean, I liked them enough to tease them. I think this is a coin flip game. I'm just so down. My problem is I'm so biased against Staley is that sometimes I don't trust my capping with the Chargers because I just don't back them, especially in a close game.
The thing is, being biased against Staley, I wouldn't view that as like
most of these games,
problem. Like I think it's like sharp.
They play so many field goal games, and if you're going to give me a coin toss, then I'm definitely taking the Jaguars. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Jaguars got to learn a lot, right? But you know what? The Chargers do too. They haven't been to the playoffs under Staley. So
Mangone, home, right? Which is nice.
Like and the Jaguars are at home. Yeah, they're playing outdoors at home. Listen, you got to love Eckler all the time. But this to me is the most exciting playoff game. And I'm not kidding. Like I am going to make sure I'll be sitting in front of the TV. I'm going to live bet the hell out of this. I'm going to have a lot of equity in DFS as well. I think this one, the Giants and Vikings game, are the two that really stand out to me. Mangone, any thoughts betting? And then what do you want to do as far as DFS goes?
Yeah, the Jaguars are definitely a team that I am interested in spread. I actually teased the game. I teased the Jaguars too, Holden. Who'd you tease it with? I'm kind of curious if we're on the same one.
I feel like Giants.
Oh no, we teased the different ones. I teased
because you're not supposed to tease the 3. And I was just like, you know what? I like the Giants so much in this, and I liked them that last time the two teams played that I'll just take the 6 and throw it on there. Who'd you tease them with?
I teased them with the Bengals.
Ooh.
Went down all the way to the what's it called? Whatever it is 0.5 or whatever.
It's basically a money line.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I got a good number too, because now it's 8.5.
Yeah, the Bengals Jag one is good in my opinion. I think Bengals Jags, tease those two together. That's a winner right there. I feel very good about that. But yeah, I think this game's going to be close, and I think the Jaguars, man. I think we could see an upset, right? I think we could see an outright Jags win. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Nothing against the Chargers. I think they're a very talented team. They're fun to watch, but I do worry about their coaching a little bit, right? Last week was a head scratcher for sure. And I'm not trying to be biased towards what happened last week, but it was very mind-blowing what they were doing out there. So no clue why they did that. The one thing that you can give in the favor of the Chargers is, dude, Bosa is a beast, right? And I know I don't think he's like completely 100%, but he's out there, right? And he's looked decent. That could be one of the big difference makers that ends up mattering a lot. Like, would not surprise me at all for watching that game late and like he makes a big play to kind of close the game out and the Chargers win. That could be the case. He's just such a talented player there. I do worry about the Jaguars defense. That is a little bit of a concern. If you had to pick something to be worried about, it would be that. But Etienne can at least be involved in the game this week, right? Etienne was not as involved last week. That was a tough thing that we had to watch there with the Titans, but they got the job done. The Titan team just wasn't that good. DFS-wise, there's a lot of plays, so let me dive into that. Obviously, no Mike Williams. At least that's my assumption. I don't think he plays at all.
I think he does. They're saying right now that he's expected to play. But
yeah,
again,
I mean,
his back spasms, dude. How do you trust that guy?
I don't. I'm going to make Keenan Allen a better play at 7K. I'd rather just go to him. Palmer at 5.3. You could make a case that even if Mike Williams was healthy, Palmer could be a good play in tournaments that's low owned and score a touchdown. So I think it could be good for Palmer too. Like Palmer and Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler versus Christian McCaffrey is going to be a debate. My pick is to go Austin Eckler if I had to pick, at least in tournaments. Cash games, I think I wouldn't be able to, have the balls to do it. But I think in tournaments, it would be Eckler, which obviously opens up Herbert as an interesting option at 6.6K because the volume they throw out. Look at his pass attempts. I mean, he throws the ball a ton. It's hard to argue with that. Have to like Justin Herbert this year. So I'm in on Herbert as a stack option you could go with. On the Jaguar side, we know we've attacked the Chargers a bit with some of the run game. This could be a smash spot for Etienne at 6.3. Like this could be a spot where he puts you up 20 plus DK points. Really like him. If you're playing some showdown, Travis Etienne in showdown could be a really good captain option as well. So love this spot for him. Think he's going to be a phenomenal play. Someone that's on a lot of my teams this week. Can't ignore him. His price feels like it's gone down a bit. I mean, again, 6K on the 2-game slate. That seems cheap. 6.3 on that main slate feels cheap. I love Travis Etienne here. Definitely going to be in on that. Christian Kirk, 5.9K. Zay Jones, 4.3. Marvin Jones, 3.4. I don't think you can completely ignore these options because they're just so cheap and they're in one of the higher totals of the slate, right? It's just hard to ignore those price tags, especially on Zay Jones. The dude was like 4.9, 4.8 around that range a lot of this year. He dipped down to 4.2 and then moved all the way up to 5K. You're getting a nice little discount just because of the playoffs and the way the pricing is structured. So
he's also been invisible the last couple of weeks, but
we
don't care about that in DFS.
Yeah, we don't because again, targets are still not that bad. 5, 6. The week before against the Jets, 4, but Jets are a tough defense for sure. So I don't discount that completely. Also, that Titans game kind of played tight late in that fourth quarter, right? When sometimes what happens in some of these games is like, you think it like could be like a higher scoring affair. And then and I guess the Titans game wouldn't be, but what happens is like late in a game when it's like a game to play in the playoffs or like play to get in to the playoffs, the game in the fourth quarter just plays super tight, right? And the scoring just kind of goes down. That's exactly what happened, I think, in that Jaguars game a little bit. So, and then the Texans, what happened in the Texans game, Holden? Remember? They were up big and then they just kind of mailed it in because like, why are you going to play your guys, right? If you're Brandon Staley coaching the Jaguars, you're going to play your guys the whole game like an idiot.
Dude, if you're like the 8 Chargers fans out there just have to be so frustrated watching this guy coach.
Oh, yeah.
Like seriously, why is your your third best offensive option and your second most explosive option on the field in a meaningless game late?
Yeah, it's not just that. It's like one thing with Mike Williams, like
Bosa got hurt too.
Oh, he got hurt too in the game? Jeez,
he's fine now, but he had to leave the game because he got hurt.
Yeah, that's absurd.
I can't stand Staley.
But yeah, you have to like these Jags pass catchers. And actually, I haven't touched on Evan Ingram. So let's look at the tight end pricing real quick, just because Evan Ingram's 4.4. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a really nice option here. Like, I can't ignore Evan Ingram too. Like, if you don't want to, if let's say you can't get exposure to the Jaguars, like, or, in other ways, Evan Ingram's a good option. And then obviously Lawrence is going to be a good one too. This is going to be one of the best games. And to kind of call this out where I could see a lot of ownership gravitating towards this game over that Giants-Vikings game. And I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but I think it makes sense to do it. Trevor Lawrence is only 5.7K. Those Jaguars receivers are cheap. Travis Etienne, 6K, feels a little too cheap. Also, if you look at the tight end, Evan Ingram sticks out as a pretty good option, has been absolutely crushing towards the end. And we have an injury with Mike Williams, where that could obviously open up some other value on the Chargers. This game is way more appealing from a salary perspective than the Vikings and the Giants game, which is the next highest total. Yes, that game is in a dome, and you can make a case for Cousins and Daniel Jones at their price tags. But when you look at the receiving options on the Vikings and the Giants, Justin Jefferson does everything. TJ Hawkinson is an expensive tight end typically. And then your other receivers are all just guys that you do not really want to roster. You know what I mean? So when it comes to looking at, hey, this total is a really high total versus this total being a high total, which one has more plays? The Jaguars-Chargers game will naturally have the most ownership. So that will be something when you are building your lineups for this 6-game slate, you will have to think about for sure. And you'll have to think about on the 2-game slate too for Saturday, right? If there's a game that people are going to load the boat on, it's going to be the Chargers game and the Jaguars game. So you have to find a way to make that different in some type of way. You can't just go in there and jam all the chalk. Like in NBA last night. You know, it was probably the winning strategy last night in NBA. It wasn't playing Orlando Robinson on the Heat. You could play the chalk, right? The Heat were good plays. Max Struss was on the winning lineup. Jimmy Butler was on the winning lineup. So there are going to be plays from this game that probably do hit the winning lineup, and you're going to want exposure to. But you don't have to play the chalkiest plays, right? Find ways to make it a little bit different. Maybe it's playing Trevor Lawrence with Evan Ingram and Austin Eckler and not playing any pass catcher from this game. That sounds pretty unique, right, Holden? And how crazy is it for Evan Ingram to be the best scoring tight end? How crazy is it for Austin Eckler to be the best scoring tight end or running back? And Trevor Lawrence at 5'7" being a great value play. That certainly could be the winner, and it would be a unique build. Those are things that I try to look for when building out my lineups, is how can I play the chalk but make it unique in some sort of way and still play the good plays that need to be played.
Okay. Like button would be great. If you are a subscriber and you got a question, I'm not guaranteeing that we answer it, but hit us up in the premium chat is all I can say. What up, Scary Creations, Matty Ice, and all the boys that are hanging out. Vincent Cano. Excuse me, Vincent. And I saw Stevie Boyton in here, the Polish Prince, and Ian. Great to see everybody. Tyler, Bill Miner. Spread, did you want to talk about this a little bit more from a bet side, or have you said everything you wanted to say because you're back in the Jags? Mute.
You guys got me excited to do this because Holden, you're right. I'm not taking Brandon Staley in the playoff game. Let's go, Doug Peterson, inventor of the Philly special. If he can bring Nick Foles to a playoff, he can do it with Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, he didn't just bring Nick Foles; he brought Carson Wentz as well.
To be fair, Carson Wentz looked pretty good in 2017.
He did, but I mean, the drop off got gross. That was the time to sell.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next game then. We all like the Jaguars in this one. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I know. What could go wrong back in one of the worst franchises of the past
what
15
could go
years?
wrong? Yeah. I mean, let's not forget, though, a few years ago, they were a couple of minutes from knocking Tom Brady and the Patriots out and going to the Super Bowl. People forget that.
And that
was that 4 years ago?
No, that was
5?
That might have been 2017, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
it was like 5 years ago. Wasn't that long ago?
The same year that Peterson won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember being down in like San Diego in 2008 and watching Maurice Jones-Drew give us jazz hands. Like, they have played some good games in the playoffs. I think it was against the Steelers that year. The Jaguars, man, none of that matters now, but I like Jaguars.
The Jaguars, I mean, you guys are some old guys, right? I mean, Mark Brunell, Byron Leftwich, those were some good days in Jacksonville.
Yeah. And Kanoski, I think that's Vincent. He says the CMC and the Niners defense too chalky. I mean, you said CMC for the cash games. I don't know why the Niners would be. I mean, as far as defenses go, play whoever. I don't like to play whoever you want, but it's defense, man. Right?
Yeah, defense. I mean, you can literally. I mean, Niners defense makes sense.
Yeah.
I do not prioritize my defense with my construction typically. It's one of the last pieces I kind of worry about. So not something I'm messing with too much.
Yeah, and we might listen if CMC goes for like 16 DK points and we faded him, we're looking pretty good. You know, if they get Elijah Mitchell back in there and they get going. So let's keep moving on here. Game number 3, spread right back to you. Dolphins, Bills, Skylar Thompson starting. This line went from 9.5, and then the news started eking out today, and now we're sitting at 13. Bills minus 13. You can make a lot of arguments for both sides of this, can't you? 43.5 is the total.
I'd love to hear your arguments for the Dolphins.
There's one argument. It's a divisional game, and the other one is Josh Allen's turning the ball over too much. Neither one of those things makes me think the Dolphins are going to win. 13 points is a lot.
Okay, and I agree with you. My only thing is it's not like the Carroll Shanahan situation where they match up against each other for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, McDaniels has played them twice. The first time, they had the advantage of that. What was that, like 105 degrees on the field? And even a guy that's from Miami on the Bills was like, bro, I grew up here and it was never this bad. So an interesting spot there. I just don't think they have the familiarity. So it's like a typical division game, right? It's not like, the Ravens and the Bengals that know each other pretty well. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time making arguments for the Dolphins here. Unfortunately, it moved through my projection since you talked, Holden. I had the Bills winning this game by 12. But there's no way.
By 12?
Yeah, I mean, you know how these projections work. I mean, they just throw out wacky numbers, right? I got 18 on the Dolphins, and they're probably not going to land on 18. But that's just how those things work out. I don't see how you can back the Dolphins here. I said at the top of the show, these number 7 seeds aren't real playoff teams. You're going to get everything from the Bills that they've been holding back all year. I think we see a huge performance. And I know you should be concerned about Josh Allen's interceptions. I just don't know if they do have, the ability to rush the passer to take advantage of them, especially up there when it's going to get cold. I think the Bills get ahead early. They're in the driver's seat. I think they're going to cover the spread even at 13.
So the interesting thing here is James Cook, Mangone. I don't know if you have any thoughts on him whatsoever, but before last week, they were really starting to work him in, and he's just so explosive. So talk to me here. Let's get into this this Buffalo side first. Josh Allen, obviously, going to be the chalk quarterback, or at least he should. Then we got running back where Mostert has a broken finger. And this is their pass catching back too. I wonder how that's going to affect them. That's some pretty big news. Tyreek with the ankle last week. He had to leave early. This to me sets up a nice little game for Jalen Waddle. Do you trust Gabe Davis? Now it's the playoffs. Jamison Crowder probably back next week though. Boy, there's a lot to consume in this game. Please draw the map out for me, Mango.
Yeah, I forgot about Jamison Crowder. Actually,
not this week, but maybe next week.
I forgot about the name. Actually, it just you brought it up and reminded me that he's actually a thing. Not this week though, obviously. Let's talk about the running back situation on both sides. Actually, we'll go with Mostert. I like to play him typically, but this week's gonna be tough. Jeff Wilson is 5'4", so you could make a case for it, but the trailing script. I would want Mostert out in order to kind of really get behind that. I can just find $600 more for Travis Etienne, right? He just seems like such a sick play here. So don't know if I need how much Jeff Wilson I'm really going to get to. A contrarian spend up would probably be Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle's only 6'6" in that mid tier, but again, Skylar Thompson is throwing the football. Is going to be a trailing script. So that's obviously beneficial. But again, Skylar Thompson throwing the ball, that's the thing that I really worry about. Not super excited about getting some Miami options. On the Bills side, Dawson Knox at 4K is always in the conversation, I think. The question is, will you get the upside game or the downside? He's definitely came on a little bit over the past 4 weeks and looked a lot better. I don't know if I'm going to get there this week as much, but we'll have to see. I think he's in the conversation for sure. Stephon Diggs is one of those big play receivers that is kind of priced down, right? You could obviously play, Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, or you can go down for $800 or $400 more for Stephon Diggs. It's definitely something to think about. But on the flip side, they're going to have this trailing script, right? They're 11-point favorites, so it makes you interested in the run game. Devin Singletary had a rough week last week. He did fumble. I could see him bounce back. I do want to see what the ownership is going to be on Singletary and Cook before I make any decisions on them. I think that's going to help lead me to decide, do I want to play them? Because I think either one of them could have pretty good games, but I want to have some lower ownership on them. I don't want to be playing them when they're chalkier options. Josh Allen, do I want to spend on him at 7-9 this week? I don't really think so. I think there's other quarterbacks that I'd prefer to get to. For 1,000 less, I'd much rather just play Joe Burrow. I think he'd be a better play. Rather get to a Herbert. Probably even rather get to Kirk Cousins is not in the time slot. I didn't think about that. He's not in the 1 o'clock window.
He's not in a good time slot.
It's not good. By the way, I want to clarify too. It's the dumbest thing ever to be talking about this, that Kirk Cousins can't play at a certain time slot.
True.
But it's true. I'm just being honest. It's absolutely moronic and stupid, but it's true. So yeah, sorry, Matty Ice and Bobby here, all the Vikings fans over here at Rump here, but Kirk
you guys
Cousins,
are dead.
Yeah. But I'd much rather play Trevor Lawrence. I just can't get to Josh Allen's price tag this week. You think Josh Allen's going to be killing himself late in this game and just running around? No, I don't think so. And also, he's had turnover problems, which maybe that could keep them in the game a little bit more, and maybe they pop off more than I think. But I'm just not super excited about this spot. I think maybe it's kind of get some exposure to the running game or some receivers here and there. one thing about the Dolphins is they've been really bad in the secondary. So maybe this is the week that Gabe Davis finally pops off. I mean,
Gabe Davis.
He's 4'8". Like it's
I swear, we should all get Gabe Davis jerseys for the amount that we talk about.
It's gonna happen, dude.
Here's the thing.
It's gonna happen. It almost happened last week.
At some point. The key with Gabe Davis is the key with him. Ownership matters. If his ownership is high, I don't want anything to do with it because it can sink your lineups. Think about it. If he is 33% owned, let's say he is. I'm not saying that's the number, but that would sink a third of the field. So instantly, if us three are playing DFS, one of us would just be absolutely dead to win tournaments. You know what I mean? So I want to know what the ownership is. That's always the key with Gabe Davis. If the ownership is too high, I'm out. If it's low, I might pepper it in there for sure. Okay. So I want to see what that ownership is going to be. That's going to be really important for sure. I should talk about just because did you guys see what Skip Bayless said about John Brown? Did anyone see that?
I don't know. The first time I heard something Skip Bayless says was whatever he said last week.
We stopped tuning him out. Like
what did he get in trouble for last week? I don't even remember. That was
sweet.
He said,
"How do you guys? Let me just go on my rant for a second here. How the hell do you guys watch that shit? Seriously,
I don't.
What? Everybody says I don't watch it, but all they do is say that this guy says. I don't get it.
Holden. No one actually. I don't sit there and like walk downstairs with a cup of coffee and turn on First Take.
Thank
and listen
God.
For 2 straight hours.
That would be funny.
I happen to see a clip on Twitter where Skip Bayless and Big T he quote tweeted. I think is where I caught it. Skip Bayless said that John Brown, right? He saw like they were talking about Josh Allen, right? And on the B reel clip is Josh Allen throwing a deep ball to John Brown, and he goes, "That John Brown kid, he's going to be a star one day." I mean, John Brown is 32 years old. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, come on, man. Like
him and
like 71 though.
You know what? You're right. Because that's how I learned Stephen A. Smith doesn't know football too. There was like a clip of him talking, and like the head coach hadn't been there in 3 years.
Yeah, it's just like you expose yourself
because they have to be experts on everything. I know. Like there's a golf tournament.
I know all about that. Yes.
And as someone who talks about every single sport, right? There's some things like I can't keep track of everything, and there's other sports I'm better at and know more at than others for sure. But I'm not going to say something as egregious as that. And if I do say it, like if I do mention something pretty egregious, I'm going to be like, oh, I probably missed it because of this, right? Like one day I thought Aaron Gordon was out recently, and it was because some other Gordon was out. I just read the notification wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, my fault. Like, I'm not going to sit there and just actually keep running with it like a moron. But that's the rant about that. This is not that exciting of a DFS game. It's just because I don't think it's going to interact well, right? And in these games that are playoff games, we want the games that are going to really interact. We're going to want the back and forth shootouts. Jaguars Chargers has that written all over it, I think. Bills Dolphins does not. And I struggle to really make a bet on this game. If I did make a bet, I'd probably grab the points for the Dolphins, but I'm not confident in it. I'll just say it's probably me being an idiot too.
No Skylar Thompson for you?
No, just play Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones. Like this next game we're going to talk about is definitely a really good deal.
This is my fair. CBS Sports just threw this out here. The Dolphins have lost 9 straight outdoor games below 40 degrees. But that's not why they're going to lose this week, guys. They're going to lose because Skylar Thompson.
They're going to lose Skylar Thompson. It's just like not like a good scenario.
I mean, let's be fair. They weren't going to win with Tua either.
Here's another thing. Yeah,
they have a shot.
To fair, they weren't going to win then, and they would have had more of a spread. What would they be? Would they be -7 or what would the number be?
4.5.
No, it'd be like 6.5.
Okay,
really? It'd be the same as Bengals Ravens
with Tua.
Tua's not that good, and the team hasn't been playing that well.
Yeah, but you're capping this game, and Tua's. Then you got to wonder: is Tua worth 9 points? Probably not.
I mean, the Bills have the second highest point.
You're right. Tua's not. You're right. 6.5, because Tua is worth about a touchdown to this team at this point.
I don't know if I go. I think the number would be an 8.5. Actually,
that's a lot.
It's because of how bad Miami's looked over the past 5 weeks. It'd be pushed more that way.
And they're outdoors, and we know the Bills are going to give anything they've been saving.
It would get steamed that way. It wouldn't sit below 7. If it did, like I'd be all over the Bills side for sure.
Okay, guys, like button would be wonderful, guys and girls. If you get any questions, make sure you throw it in the chat. Yes, Tori, we do know that Tua is out. Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
We'll move on. This will be the second game on Sunday. It is not the 1 o'clock Eastern zone time slot spread. It is Kirk Cousins playing at 4:30 Eastern. The Vikings, nonetheless, are still 3-point favorites. I remember back in the Giants at +3 a few weeks ago when they played one of the zaniest games you're going to see. Justin Jefferson must have had 17 targets, almost like 200 yards receiving. He went ballistic in that game. Giants +145 in the money line. If you look at luck factors on PFF, both these teams very lucky. 48.5 is the total. That's where I kind of am excited about. I like the Giants if you throw some points. Again,
isn't that weird, Holden, how now when we do these advanced analytics, we penalize teams for getting turnovers? Because that's really what luck is. Because they're saying, oh, well, you're not always going to recover a fumble or get an interception. And I understand that's true. But it's like back in the day, right? Like the old ways. It was be like, what's the key to the game? Well, win the turnover battle, right? Now we're penalizing these teams in our analytics for getting turnovers. And a little bit weird to me here.
Well, that's why I kind of mocked it there for a moment. But anyways, this will be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be great. I'm on Minnesota here. I don't love making this bet, but I have them by 3.5. The number's 3. I think Giants are going to take money. I think you can get a 2.5 here. It was 2.5 earlier in the week, so I think they can move it back here. I just don't know if the Giants have enough on offense to get things done. They do not do well on a script where they're trailing. And if Minnesota and this coach Kevin O'Connell can, script it early, good thing, get this team out early, get Dalvin Cook involved, they're going to have the best player on the field in Justin Jefferson. All I need to do is for their defense to be able to stop the run and the Vikings getting home. I know everyone's going to talk about the Vikings point differential because I said the Bills have the second highest, right? The Vikings is so low for a team of their record. But I just don't trust this Giants team to get things done if they fall behind. I don't like the Giants in a game where they fall behind. So unless they get out early, right, I think this is the Vikings game to win. What do you guys think?
I like the Giants to cover. So that's all I'll say. And I threw a couple extra points on there too. Mangone, any thoughts on this one? But just real quick from a DFS side, I always love these Chiefs Giants receivers. I just wonder how chalky they're going to be. But what do you think of this game from a spread and a total side?
Yeah, I was very much excited to be betting against the Vikings come playoff time. I'm struggling a little bit with this one. Maybe you guys can talk me into it more. The Giants and the Vikings are like, it's kind of like the Vikings are one of the most overrated teams this year. And like the Giants were kind of like number 2 in that factor, it felt like. But I do really like Daboll as a coach. I mean, if there's one takeaway from this Giants season, right, whether they win the playoff game or they don't, you have a head coach. I'm not saying you have a quarterback for sure of the future, but you have a head coach that should be there for a very long time, and you better lock him down because he's awesome. Now, what do we do DFS-wise, right? Because that's what matters the most. If I had to make a wager, though, Giants, I think, is where I would go just because I want to bet against this Vikings team. But the reason why I want to bet against is because that defense is horrific, and that's going to be great for DFS. And because that's great for DFS, what do we want to do? We want to look at we want to look at Daniel Jones, right? Because he's a good quarterback, can run a little bit. And by good, I mean good for DFS, right? If you look, he's had games where he's won the Millie Maker in DFS. He's had how many 30-point fantasy games this year? 1, we'll give him the 29. We'll give it to him 2. He's had 3 30-point fantasy games, which I even think 30 is going to be needed for sure. But at that price tag, 25 could be perfectly fine. And the thing that's nice about Daniel Jones is if his receivers do get there too, they're dirt cheap, right? Like the stack is easy to pull off, right? Slayton's 4.2, Hodgins 4.1, James Jr. 3.9. It also doesn't feel like as much of a guessing game at receiver with the Giants now. We kind of know who the guys are now, right? And throughout the year, it's kind of felt like, oh, which guy could it be? We don't know who's established. We feel pretty established that it's these 3 guys. It feels pretty confident. You also get a tight end that is only $3K, which is pretty cheap. That's on the field almost all the time, right? I mean, he plays most of the snaps, so it makes it a lot easier. Now, can Daniel Jones run those touchdowns in? Yeah, he could run in touchdowns and your receiver maybe doesn't catch it. But at their price tags, it allows you to do so much for your lineup that it's worth considering for sure. So I like this Giants side. It's tougher to stack up the Viking side, mainly because Kirk Cousins is 5'9", Hockenson, one of the more expensive tight ends at 5'1", and then Jefferson is 8'4". Now, I'm not saying that you can't play these guys, but I'm just talking the full stack. If you plug in Cousins, Jefferson, and then you plug in Hockenson, it does get expensive. Even Dalvin Cook too at 7K, that's expensive for a running back. I think I prefer stacking up the Giants side more than stacking up the Vikings side. And if I get pieces, it's more so getting pieces of a guy like Justin Jefferson. We'll see how Kirk Cousins ends up doing. Maybe he ends up being good enough where Jefferson can get there. I will probably still play Justin Jefferson in hopes that Kirk Cousins can be good enough in his not 1 p.m. slot to at least get Jefferson the ball enough and make sure he's on the winning line. You know
I need to go look up Justin Jefferson game logs outside of 1 o'clock Eastern. Because this last game was 1 o'clock Eastern. He put up almost, it was a 1 o'clock game. He put up like 193 yards, I think. He has a high prop too.
It's not Jefferson's fault, by the way. It's Cousins' fault.
I know.
And I feel like an idiot saying like he can't perform in that window, blah, blah, blah. But like, and it's funny, Holden. I even joked that, you know what window he can't perform in? It's got to be Sunday too. And then Saturday, he was awful against the Colts. And then of course he bounced back in the second half to like look like a hero. So it's just really funny how it works with him. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the games that he didn't play.
I actually
have to go out west much.
Holden, I thought about going back because it would take some time. I thought it'd be a good Twitter.
It won't. It just didn't. He had the Monday night game against the Eagles. He threw 3 picks. Okay. He had a Thursday night game. He threw 3 touchdowns again and 1 pick against the.
What was his yardage in that game? I'm curious now.
299, 30 of 37.
Okay.
He actually had a pretty good game, buddy.
So this is something I actually want to do, Holden. I want to go back and look at the last 4 years versus
let's go look at the myth.
Yeah, maybe it is. It could be, but it doesn't feel like it. I'll say that.
Myth.
I think it would be a really good. I think it'd be a really good Twitter post. So if you guys think it's a good Twitter post, post in the chat and let me know because that might drive me to do it a little bit more. Because I think having the data would be really interesting, and I think people would be intrigued by it. And also hit the like and subscribe to the channel, so that way you guys help us out and we'll help you out.
Let's Holden seems slow on 2 times. Yeah. And Mangone is fire on 2 times. Just watch it at normal speed, dude. You don't have to watch it at 1.5 or 2. Okay? Just relax.
Travis, you're muted, but I know you just spit out like 7,000 words during that.
I said I personally like 1.5 because it saves time. So.
Because that's how you talk. So it just feels like normal to you.
Well, so I used to listen on 1.0 a while ago, and then someone like told me about it, and it's probably made me talk a little bit faster too. But yeah, I definitely want to. I do need to try and talk slower. I think.
No, you don't.
Eventually, I'll get there.
You don't have to. Why?
I think it would sound way better if I talk slower. I think it'd be better.
I don't get paid enough to give you guys advice on what you need to do better. Just be yourself. That's all I can tell you.
I agree with that. Being yourself is probably the most important.
You're doing fine. Be yourself. Thumbs up, like button. I think Mango just told you to do that, but I'm going to remind you once again. All right. Sunday Night Football. We actually went through these. I know we're up on an hour right now. I thought we flew through these, considering there's 6 of them today, but Bengals hosting the Ravens. It's up to 8.5 now. Boy, there's a lot. 5 games without Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are averaging 13 points per game. Tyler Huntley has tendonitis in his throwing shoulder. Anthony Brown might be the starting quarterback again. 8.5 is a lot of points. Once again, spread, we're looking at a divisional game. And I must say, with Anthony Brown, these 2 teams just played and they hung around with the Bengals. Total is 40.5. I'm going to go look at the Ravens team total right now, but spread. Like, the Ravens hang around. Can they do it again?
I don't think so. It kind of sucks, right? That some of these games that would have been so much better aren't as good. If Lamar was in this game, tell me this wouldn't be one of the best games on the docket, right?
Yes.
Because divisional rival, he's so explosive. I just don't see him now. They've moved the number appropriately. It sucks. I had an edge there earlier because I had this 8. Before the news, but I guess I was anticipating Lamar was going to be out. So this game really is disappointing. I thought it was going to be exciting. I thought it was going to be a lot of fun. If anything, I think I would bet the over here instead of taking the side. I think they've done a good job of kind of pricing this out. Yeah, and I know that the idea is going to be, hey, they're not going to be able to score at all, but you could still have turnover for field position. The Bengals could run up the score and get there pretty close, right? We saw We saw Georgia do that the other night, right? I mean, I tell you, the Bengals put up 30, which isn't the craziest idea, right? This game's going over. So I think the over is the best play in this game.
Their team total just dropped to 15.5 for the Ravens. Fascinating. That's but they scored 16 last week. In order to get there, I think they're gonna have to score a defensive touchdown or have a
turnover that gives you a red zone possession.
That's
right,
what I'm
where
saying.
you just run it in. Yeah.
Touchdown, or they set you up for.
But that's not the craziest idea. This is a good ball hawking defense.
So, Mangone, let's talk about this from a DFS side. Start with the Ravens. I mean, there's got to be somebody we could play from this team, right? Anybody? Mark Andrews? Do you want? Likely. I think Andrews is going to be in there. Likely went nuts last week. Gus Edwards is banged up. Maybe some Dobbins. Talk to me here. What do we want to do? Anything, or just fade the Ravens?
Yeah, it's going to start with Mark Andrews and it's going to end with Mark Andrews.
Okay.
He's interesting, but I think there's other tight ends I prefer. I doubt I get there. I need more information on the Lamar Jackson stuff. So yeah, that's where it's going to start and end. I'm good. I don't need to play that many Ravens, and it's likely I fade them completely. We go over to the Bengals. That is something I'm definitely interested in because Joe Burrow and this Bengals team, they've kind of changed their ways a little bit, right? They are throwing the ball a lot more than they were earlier on in the year. And that's obviously great for DFS. It's going to be good because Joe Mixon at 6'8", going to see a lot of opportunity, I think. I think Bengals win. I think they're going to look phenomenal here. Jamar Chase, 8K. I think he's one of the better spend-up receivers here on this slate. Going to like to get to him. Him and Justin Jefferson will be two guys I definitely have exposure to at the top. I know we talked.
Who do you like better between those two?
It's gonna be tough. My as crazy as it sounds, my lean is Chase. I just can't trust Cousins, but it feels tough.
I don't think that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I love both though. I mean, and honestly, you could make a build with both of them. I think it's going to be very easy to pull off. You have to go cheap at running back, but those are the kind of builds that I like. I like double spending up a receiver a lot. So, yeah, I like Chase though in this spot. I think he's better than Jefferson here because I still worry about Cousins. I think ownership will be important too. I want to see what the ownership shakes out on those guys. It's a 6-game slate. So like naturally these guys are going to get a lot of ownership in general. Right. So I think you're going to see Jefferson and Chase both probably above 15 or 20% for sure. People are going to want to get them in their lineups. T Higgins is only 6'5". 6'5" is kind of a nice price tag, but as you kind of said last week, Holden, Higgins didn't look as great last week. There is some reason to be concerned. And let's say everything that happened with Higgins and Hamlin is affecting him, right? If it is, that is going to benefit Jamar Chase, right? It's going to benefit Tyler Boyd at 4K, who gets to pop for a pretty big game. He has a ton of upside. I like Tyler Boyd for sure. You got Hayden Hurst, who's only 3.1K. Like one thing I absolutely love about this Bengals stack is typically when I like to play my quarterback, I like to pair it with my tight end because if my tight end catches a touchdown, it's correlated up with the quarterback. It's just not as much of a guessing game. It all works together very nicely. If the tight end touchdown hits, I get it with my quarterback as well. And it's always nice to have that happen. And he's only 3.1K. And I think he's underpriced. I believe this is also a Hayden Hurst revenge game. Is that correct? Did he play for the Ravens or was it Ravens or Falcons?
It was the Ravens.
It was the Ravens.
And the Falcons.
It was both. Okay. Correct. See, there we go. Spread. Still got my revenge games on point over here. So Hayden Hurst revenge in the little playoff game. And Hayden Hurst, if you looked early in that game, he was getting peppered a decent amount early on. So I like the opportunity that Hayden Hurst is going to have here. I'm definitely interested in him in this spot. So overall, I'm in on this game in a lot of different ways. I think it's going to be a really good one to go to. So yeah, love the Bengals side. Now, I think the Bengals win this game. If you're betting, I talked about it earlier. If you just got in here, we got 95 people in here. Maybe you're watching on rewatch. Maybe you watch at a different time. Tease the Bengals and tease them with the Jaguars. I think that's a winner right there.
I think the golf show's starting too. We're getting a lot of some golf questions here. So
we're getting golf questions.
Yeah, it's like Sig is Grayson Sig for Scary Creations. There's a few. Spencer Smith keeps saying he's going to donate his crowns. He never donates them to me. You never donate them. You never do, Spencer. It's very, very, it's painful. Yeah.
The chat's talking about golf. We're at that like 5 minutes over mark.
That's fine. Let's wrap it up then so the golf guys can do their thing. Okay. Yeah. We got one more game to go. Thumbs up. It'd be great. Cowboys, Bucks, Monday Night Football. Everybody is on the Bucks. It seems like spread 2.5-point dogs at home, plus 126 money line, 45.5 the total. We know Mike McCarthy is going to choke a game away. Is it going to be this game? Because I've seen the Buccaneers play, man. They are crap. The one thing that I like when we start talking with Mangone about DFS, playoff Lenny, I don't care that his foot is basically amputated. This guy's just going to play through it. But spread, yeah. Do I lean the Bucks? Yeah. Do I want to back the Bucks? No.
I'll tell you what, Holden, I agree with your assessment that the Bucks are not very good for 54 minutes. But it seems like in every single one of these games, single one of these games, it feels like Tom Brady is terrible. You're watching, you go, this guy's washed. Then all of a sudden, the other team makes a mistake. They give it an opportunity to drive down the field, and it's just dart, right? I mean, he's just right on target, in the pocket, with the poise, and you're like, that's why nobody likes betting against this guy. So, hey, I'll let you have your fun there on the side of the total. I have this game projected pretty close. If you just asked me to go as a fan, I'm going to take the Buccaneers. I don't think the Cowboys have been that impressive either. You know, McCarthy versus Balls. I mean, what a great coaching matchup we have here. But if I have Brady as a coach on the field, I think that does it for me. If the Cowboys win, they're going to have to blow this team out. I think if you keep it close, Brady's going to come close. But the play I really like here, Holden, and we saw it a lot in primetime all season. Let's go right back to it. Give me the under. Both these teams are going to play conservatively. And I think that's going to be something that will give Tom Brady a chance to work that magic one more time. But I have an edge to the under here. I think it's going to be another low-scoring game in primetime. These teams are both going to be running the ball a lot. Both teams are going to be playing conservative. Look at the head coaches, right? Go ahead.
What can we find a Dak Prescott interception at? Because that's coming too. That should probably be minus 200. Let me go see if we can get a better number than that.
No, I'll bet you it's not. I'll bet you you're going to get like between minus 145 and minus 165.
What?
I'm just guessing. They're not going to put it at minus 200.
180.
Playoff game?
180.
Wow. Okay. Well, right in the middle of
he just throws a freaking interception every game. He's good for it.
Yeah, but you don't think that the game plan is going to be so conservative, though? I mean, it's
going to make
it's Mike McCarthy look liberal. How conservative it's going to be.
Knows what he's going to do.
The best bet is what Spread said. That under actually is a pretty good bet. Like yeah. I love that one, Spread. When you talked about it, especially against this Bucks team, right? This Bucks defense is really really good at stopping the run. The Cowboys are going to want to try and run the ball a bunch. There's going to be a lot of punting going on here for sure. And obviously the Bucks, their offense hasn't looked as great, but that Tom Brady kid, man, he looks like he's going to be a star one day, right? I mean, he's a young guy.
Hey, what if I told you what if I could get you an alternate same game parlay? Me and JJ love doing these. He's great
at those.
He's been murdering. What if I can get you an under 50.5 and a Bucks plus 8.5 at even money?
My problem is I like the Bengals side. I mean, not Bengals. I like the Cowboys side more than you.
Really?
Yeah.
I win by more than 8 points.
I don't like them to win by 8 points, but I
kind of think if the Bucks lose, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
I just think this Cowboys team is like, I worry about the coaching for one. Like that's the one worry, but there's an idiot on the other side, so it's okay. It's Dumb and Dumber going against each other, so no big deal. So I just think this Cowboys team is really talented. Like that defensive line is going to get at Brady. That's Brady's weakness, right? Like it is. It's always been. Even like he's had one weakness throughout his career, and it's been when the lines can get at you. And I just, if I had to lean, I'd be betting on the Cowboys. Like, is it 2.5 or what's the number out right now?
It's minus 2.5, minus 118 on Bookmaker right now.
If I had to pick,
shows me if you want the Bucks, the 3's going to be there.
Yes. Yeah, if I had to bet, I'd be on the 2.
Cowboy money will be pouring in Sunday.
Or Monday afternoon.
Monday, I should say. I'll probably come in Saturday, Sunday, and Monday spread. But
I will say I was trying to see maybe if there was like some kind of like because parlays are fun, right? I'm not trying to go out there and like put some 6 like parlay, right? But sometimes here and there you can find a fun like just 2-teamer. Yeah. And I couldn't muster up trying to put the Cowboys in there. I'll just say that I did struggle. But if I had to pick, like if I was wagering, right, you got to pick the pick 6 for this week. I'd have the Cowboys minus 2.5.
Dak's throwing an interception. Lenny Fournette. Since I'm not going to go over my cheap Giants as my play this week, Mangone, I'll go Lenny Fournette. No one's going to play him. Busted foot. Playoffs.
Yeah. But by the way, we haven't talked about DFS wise for this game at all. I haven't touched on it. might be a spot where you're in first place and you hold first place. Like, I could see it for sure. The one argument to make towards the Tampa Bay side for the receivers is Tom Brady throws so many times that the PPR adds up, right? And then if you get over 100 yards, you likely probably got that touchdown too, and it's just absolute Yahtzee, right? Like, I mean, for instance, the other day, Chris Godwin had 9 catches and 120 yards, no touchdowns. He actually even lost a fumble, and he had 25 DK points. That's even without the touchdown. Like, that's just what can happen when Tampa Bay is out there on the field. So worth mentioning that. Godwin at 6'4", definitely going to be a guy that you don't want to completely ignore. You can make a case for Fournette and White at their prices, but I think they could split too much where I'm not as excited about them as options. Not playing Brady. Dallas side, you worry about the split with Pollard and Elliott. Also, it's not the greatest matchup for them. CeeDee Lamb, explosive, could have a big game. There's other top-end receivers that I much prefer, and I'm not taking a chance on Michael Gallup, Hilton, or Noah Brown. You could argue for Dalton Schultz at 4-3, but I just don't need to get there. I think there's other tight ends I prefer. Maybe I'll sprinkle Dalton Schultz a little bit just because if I do think that this Cowboys team can have trouble running the ball a bit just because it's not the easiest spot, they are going to have to throw a little bit more, and Dalton Schultz could be a guy that pops off a bit.
Play of the week, Mangone, DFS. What's your play?
Oh, man, I haven't looked at ownership and stuff.
Who cares about ownership right now? Just give me a name.
Yeah, like,
you know what? I'm going to go Richie James over Fournette. Give me Richie James. I
like that way more, actually, than for what you said. For me, I mean, I'm probably just going to spend all my salary here, so my apologies, but I'm going and grabbing Jamar Chase, right? Doing the gritty all over everyone. When he drops 3 touchdowns and wins me a tournament spread, I'll post a gritty video for the people. But I need to win a big tournament, so until then, I will not be doing a gritty for you on Twitter.
Best bet spread?
Give me the under, primetime under, Cowboys Buccaneers.
Okay, very good, gentlemen. Wonderful to see you. Hoop, Tambo, they're in the chat here going, let's go, let's go. Guys, we ran a little long, but let's face it, it's the NFL playoffs. Let's go. Let's get it going. Is right. Spread, great to see you, pal. Mangone, great to see you, pal. We got golf coming up. We've got the golf coming up here next, the Pin Seeker show, and that's going to be Tambo and Hoop.
Yeah, that's on the premium side, Holden. So if you're not a member, you have to get in on that. So sign up for that. Also, we have NHL shows. I should call that out on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays going forward. And if you're not a member, the niche sports have been crushing it. Jared, he hit for Fantasy Golf Championship for NHL, so congrats to him. Ooh. College basketball, Stevie Boyton, he helped two of our members, not just one, but 2 members get their seat to the college basketball mania. So
I need a college hoops optimizer.
What?
I need a college hoops optimizer. That's what I need to help me with that more.
You can use Sabre. Sabre has I think they have the opto for it.
I don't think so.
They might not have the projections, but then I think you have to go in and like upload.
Yeah. All right. So Pin Seekers coming up right now. NBA Hardwood 445 Tambo Locks title. Premium up to lock show. Me, JSU, and Tony starting at 6. Then we got a PGA betting preview coming up tonight as well. For spread, for Mangone, thank you very much for checking us out here on Run Pure Sports.